Good morning, Rob Green here. It is the morning of Thursday, the 19th of October, 2023. And I wanted to share with you something that came out today that caught my eye. And it goes in line with everything I've been saying for those of you who have been following us on Twitter and LinkedIn and our Substack, which is globallegalmarket.substack.com. If you haven't already signed up, please sign up today. And it's the exodus of law firms out of Asia, my old hometown, as it were, the continent I used to live on for nearly a decade. I'm going to share with you my screen, and it's going to be here we go. Okay, you can see it. From the wonderful Asian Legal Business News today, which came out, and it says HSF to shutter. I always say that. I always wonder why it doesn't say to shut. Anyway, to shut their Kuala Lumpur office, which is their second Asian office closure in a year. Okay, Herbert Smith Freehills, as we know, one of the finest law firms in the world. Not quite Magic Circle, though, are they? Maybe Herbert Smith used to be. But certainly Silver Circle. Anyway, not that matters. And their, usual story. From the press release, we're committed to a successful, long-standing relationship, Malaysian clients, we service from our other Asian offices, and etc. And I'm sure, look, as I say, HSF, brilliant law firm, brilliant law firm. But this is a continuation of international law firms moving out of the Asia market. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't really. Okay, so I was there for almost 10 years. I went to Hong Kong at the beginning of the financial crisis, and I just saw so many law firms moving in straight after that, like we did, because the belief really was from foreign businesses that the path to China was laid with gold, and the best route through there was Hong Kong. Then we saw this rapid emergence of Singapore as well. And then sort of from 2010 onwards, the growth of Malaysia and Vietnam and Indonesia and Myanmar before their troubles, and Thailand, and beautiful, wonderful countries and great markets. And if you ever get to go to any of them, you'll be struck by how incredible their cities are. Last time I was in Ho Chi Minh City, there were just skyscrapers going everywhere, banks, law firms, everywhere. It was amazing to see. And I think a lot of the foreign firms went in and thought, right, well, this is where we can go. This is where our clients want us to be, and et cetera, et cetera. But then they started to find out how difficult it is. Each of these markets is quite saturated. Each of these markets are quite protective of their home law firms, if you like, especially places like Korea, where I've done a lot of work as well, and Japan. And that's not to say that Western and international law firms can't make it work in many of the Asian cities. They have. Obviously, it's all client dependent. But it isn't it's not a path laid with gold. It isn't that. And I think that the firms are finding it more and more difficult. And also the talent as well. I'll save this for another podcast, but the difficulty in hiring as a foreign law firm in China is well researched, and well covered. The Chinese government gives a lot of incentives to work for local firms. And then, you can read into that and read what you want online. It is true. So actually attracting the right talent to grow and build is very, very difficult. So there is a protective environment in certain Asian countries, and that makes it even more difficult. And then, of course, you've got the geopolitical issues. And anyone who reads the news as much as I do, and anyone who reads the opinions and watches wonderful geopolitical analysts like Peter Zion and others, understands that the world is currently in the process of being divided. And whilst some cities will be and some countries will avoid any issues, I think this is the beginning of what we'll see is lots and lots and lots of law firms, international law firms, closing up their offices in Asia. I mean, it's not even the start, is it? I mean, I'm talking nonsense there, because it's been happening for the last 3 years. Pressure on fees, not able to get the talent, no help from governments. Geopolitically, it's about moving back to home markets and cutting their losses. And I've seen it time and time again. And, you know, I've done it myself as well. You know, you go into a country. We went into Japan. We were in Hong Kong for a long time, briefly in Singapore. We had a business development office in Myanmar. You go, and we had an office in Australia for 4 years. You go into these countries, you make of what you can, and it's and you're successful for a while, and then there's no harm and no, I don't even know what the word is, but there's no shame, I suppose, in then leaving. Once you've got your money and you've done your time, and then you've got to look at whether there's any growth there. Is there growth in these markets, or has the growth come and gone? And I think a lot of those markets, having spent a lot of time in Kuala Lumpur and Seoul and Jakarta and Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi and places like that, and Hong Kong, obviously Singapore. I've looked at these places, and there's only so much amount of growth they can do, and I don't think there is much more growth. And if geopolitically their clients aren't going to be doing much more business there, or business has slowed down, then they're very expensive places to be. What does this mean for our law firm clients? Well, the big focus is going to be on Africa. It's the only continent left that's got so much room to grow, and I love that. So I'm big and I'm bullish on Africa. I am bullish on Africa. Lots of people aren't, but I am. I live here. I've seen the talent across the continent. Amazing law firms, amazing professionals. So I don't see this. I see this not a demise of the Western and foreign law firms in Asia. I see it as a rebalancing, looking for growth, looking where they can make an impact, and shut expensive offices in Asia and come to Africa. There's a lot of people here that need work. We want to boost those salaries. We want to get that going. So I'm very bullish on Africa. Please join me. Email me, actually, rob@thegrmgroup.com if you want to look at some of our research on the African markets. Stay healthy, stay well. The sun is shining. Keep good.